Right, so now obviously we're done with our autoresponder automation. This is something that I walked miles through. You guys probably seen it. This is a brand new day. At this point, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do two things inside of this automation, right? We're not fully done just yet. The first thing we're gonna do is, you guys notice, like, we literally created a random Outlook email. Obviously, we want the emails that get sent to these people to come from our email. This is the one that has our company name in it, right? The professional one. Remember the one that we made? So obviously, we don't want this to go out from a random Outlook. We want it to actually go out from our company's email. This is the one that we created earlier. If I show you guys the screen right now, we created ours to be anmar@openstepai.com. Obviously, openstepai.com, if you just go to it, should take you directly to our website, because what do? We published it. All of this is live right now. So when we send emails to people, we want it to come from us, right? We don't want it to be at Outlook. We want it to be at openstepai.com. And so what I'm going to show you guys right now is how to connect Gmail accounts to make.com. And I told you guys earlier, the only reason we did Outlook is because Gmail was a little bit of a tricky thing to do when you for the very first time connecting it inside of Make. But I'm going to walk you guys through step by step, literally how to do it. You don't need to remember this. Obviously, if you're going to be connecting again and again and again, this is probably going to be something that you're going to learn. But for the first time, you can just watch me do it and you can just copy me. This is going to work as you copy it. And the second thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some sort of notification, because when somebody books, we want to be notified, right? We don't want just an email to go out to them and we don't even know that they booked. We want some sort of notification. Obviously, we're getting notification from Calendly, but I'm going to take it a little bit of a step further and we're going to set up notifications through something called Slack. And if you're not familiar with Slack, it is literally the corporate Discord. I'm going to show you how fucking close it is to Discord, but it is basically the corporate Discord, right? So we're going to set that up. We're going to send notifications to go to our Slack, so that way when somebody books, we get notified. All right, so what's the first step to connecting Gmail, right? What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to disconnect this module right here. And then I'm going to click the plus sign. And obviously, just like any other step at this point, we are going to look for the thing that we want, which is going to be Gmail. And you probably guessed it, we're looking to send an email. So I'm going to click that. Now, let me show you what happens when we just try to create a random connection, okay? I'm going to click create a connection. I'm going to click sign in with Google. And at this point, I'm going to try to sign in with anmar@openstepai.com. This is our professional email. But let me show you what happens when we do that, right? We're going to click on it, click continue. We're going to select all, continue. And I want you to notice something right here, right? Do you see how it says failed to load data? It says 400 mail service is not enabled. The reason why is because Google is a little bit more secure than other mail platforms. They want to be secure about how emails get sent from their platform, right? They don't want somebody to just get hacked and all these AIs and robots to try to send emails through people's emails. So this is their way of securing it. And what I'm going to show you right now is how to enable it so that way you can let Make and Gmail talk together. So obviously we can't just get away with logging into our email like we did with the other platform. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Google and we're going to search this exact thing. We're going to search for Google Cloud Console, okay? When you search Google Cloud Console, you're going to see a link that looks like this. It's going to say console.cloud.google.com. What we're going to do right now is we're going to create something called a Cloud Console project. I'm going to open this up, and if this is your first time seeing it, you might see some pop-ups and questionnaires. And once you skip those questionnaires, you're going to see a screen that looks exactly like this. So what you're going to want to do at this point is on the top left. By the way, you don't have to pay for any of this, okay? You're going to click on Select Project. And then we're going to click New Project right here down the middle. We're going to create a brand new project. This is going to be the entity that talks with Make.com. We're going to go inside of it and enable everything that we want to do. So when you click that, if you don't have two-factor authentication enabled, this is something that is mandatory. It's going to make you go to settings and you have to do it. So I'm just going to do this real quick. I'm going to go to settings and see if I can enable it. All right, so here it is. It's either a phone number or the authenticator app. I'm going to just do phone number and send a code to myself. And I'm going to add my phone number right here. And I'm going to cut to the next scene when I already had done this. So now that we added a number, we're going to click turn on. And then we're going to click on the bottom of the bottom that says turn on two-step verification. It's probably going to, okay, so it says now you're protected. Awesome, cool. We're going to click done. And it looks like we are good to go on that side. Now that that's done, I'm just going to go back to where we were and then try to create a project. Hopefully it's not going to prompt us to do that one more time because we just did it. And boom, here it is. So now it's just going to ask you to name your project. This could be literally anything. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to name it make.com. And we're going to say Gmail, right? So that way, when we go back here, we know what this project is for. Organization, it doesn't matter. We're going to click on, oh, looks like we cannot use periods in here. So I'm just going to say make Gmail just to make it better. We're going to click create. And now what's going to happen is it's going to start spinning at the top right. And it's going to take some, like, literally a few seconds to create that project. But once it's done, you're going to see this green check mark. It says this is done. Click on select the project and you're going to be able to see the project that you just created. So we're going to click inside of it. And now you're inside of your project. The reason we can tell is because we can see the name at the very top. Now there's a few things right here that we need to do. Let me explain to you guys what these things are. So the first thing we have to do, Miles, is we have to enable our Gmail API. Now remember everything that we've been doing with API so far. I explained to you what an API is. Basically, in order for you to do anything inside of another application, in order for your system to do it without you actually going in, logging in and sending that email yourself, you need an API. And I already explained to you what an API looks like. Do you remember what an API is, Miles? Remember that restaurant and server example that I gave you? We're pretty much going to be doing the exact same thing. Except with Gmail, you have to go inside of Gmail and enable it. So that way when make.com goes and sends a request to Gmail and it's like, hey, I want you to send an email to this person. This guy, because we have an API key, because we have our API credentials, and we took those API credentials and gave it to Make, this is like our credit card, right? It's going to check our credentials and it's going to say, okay, you're a real person, you're valid, I'm going to go ahead and send that. If you don't do this, it's just not going to work. It's not going to let you do it. So the first thing we have to do is we have to enable that Gmail API. And the way you do that is on this little hamburger menu on the left side, I want you to open it up. And then we're going to go to APIs and services. And then we're going to click the very first one, which is enabled APIs and services. So here you're going to see a screen that looks just like this. At the very top, the search bar, I want you to just type in the words Gmail API. And the very first thing you're going to see is that Gmail API. So then we're going to click into it and you're going to see a big old blue button that says enable. This is what lets make.com send emails on behalf of you through your AI automation system. So we're going to click on enable and we're just going to basically turn it on. And it just literally takes like 1 second. Once this is turned on, we're good to go on that step. And we verified this is turned on. So boom, it's good to go. It just turned on. We don't have to do anything else at this point. Now, the second thing we have to do is we have to give make.com the permissions it needs in order to do what it needs to do. Just because we enable the API models does not mean it's actually usable yet. Because now what we have to do is we have to go inside of that API and we have to give it permissions, right? Maybe I want it to only look at emails. I don't want you to send. Or maybe I want you to do both, sending and looking at emails. And this is something that's done by design by Google, because let's just say you enabled an API and somehow your credentials get leaked. If there's no permissions behind that API, people can't use it to actually send emails from your email. So if you don't do this, what happens is make.com is going to send a request to the Gmail API. It's going to say something like, yo, I want you to send this email. Please, 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 please send it. I want you to send it right now. And if you don't have those permissions enabled, which are, by the way, called scopes. Okay, so when you see the word scope, this just means permission. I want you to literally replace the word scope with the word permission. So if those permissions don't get enabled, Gmail API is literally just going to be like, you don't have permissions to do that. I cannot do it. Sorry. Can't really do shit. Can't really do nothing about that. And so that's basically what we're going to be doing right now. Now, the way you do it is inside of this same platform, open up that little hamburger menu on the left side, and I want you to scroll all the way down. Now, the way you do it is by opening this hamburger menu, and all the way down, you're going to see a button that says view all products. Open that up, and then you're going to click on the second option. It's going to be this Google Auth platform right here. And once you click that second button, you're going to see a screen that looks like this. It's going to say get started. Now click on the blue get started button and make sure you guys are doing this in the same mailbox that you want Make to actually send emails from, aka your professional email. This is where we're going to be doing all of this inside of. So I want you guys to see right now, I'm logged in as Anmar at OpenStep AI, and we're doing this inside of this Gmail right here. We're not doing it in the testing man one. So here we're just going to give it a name, same exact name, doesn't really matter. For user support email, it's going to be a drop down and it's just going to make you select your email. At this step, I want you to literally copy this. Okay, so drag it and then Control C. We're going to copy it. You're going to see exactly why literally in like a second. I'm going to click next. And then here, we're going to select external because make.com is external to Gmail. It's not part of the Gmail suite. So we're going to click external and then we're going to click next. And here, this is where we're going to be pasting that email that we just copied. We're going to click next and here, agree, continue, and then we're going to click create. Once that's done, we are good to go. And now we're going to be able to actually add those scopes. So the way you do that is on the left side, you're going to go to this tab that says data access. We're going to open this up. And at the very top, you're going to see add or remove scopes. Remember, I told you guys, scopes is just another word for permissions. So we're going to be basically adding permissions right here. We're going to say, okay, I want make.com to do this and this and this on behalf of my mailbox. So I'm going to open this add or remove scopes. And then you're going to see a screen that looks like this. Do not let this intimidate you, okay? All this is is just the name of the scope and what API it belongs to. So let me make it easier for you, right? I'm gonna just type the word Gmail right here in the search box, and then I'm just gonna click on Gmail API, and look what's gonna happen. Now, this just filtered all the scopes that only belong to the Gmail API. And if you have no idea what the scope is, here is a description for what that permission is. So if I were to check this one right now, this tells me that I am allowing make.com to read, compose, send, and permanently delete all emails from Gmail. Do I want to do that? It's up to you guys, whatever you want to do. Now, keep in mind, when you guys are building these systems for the real world, this right here, you need to be very extremely careful about, because you might have a company that has some extra security where they don't want it to do additional things. So you're going to want to literally make sure that you understand what permissions you want your AI system to do on behalf of the mailbox right here. And so right now, off the top of my head, what do I want, right? I want it to be able to send emails and read emails. These are going to be the two ones. So I'm going to see if I can just quickly find those. By the way, there are 14, so it's not that many. So Miles, I want you to just read them right now and tell me what you think we should select out of these right now. So right now, so this is the first page, and this is the second.
On your behalf.
Boom.
So email on your behalf.
Cool. So you got it. That's the first one. We want make.com or our AI system to send emails on our behalf. That's the very first one. Do we need anything else, Miles? So take a look at this scope right here. This one allows it to read, compose, and send emails. So the difference between this one right here and the one that you just selected is that this one only lets it send emails, but it cannot read emails. What that means is if you wanted to use a module inside of Make right here that, let's just say we went to Gmail and the module is going to be search for emails, okay? We want our AI system to search our mailbox and pull emails. We want it to search. If we have no other scope outside of this, then it will not be able to search emails because the only permission it has is to send emails on our behalf. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yeah, so we include both of them or just the other one?
So technically you only really need this one, but just to save ourselves some extra headache in the future so that way we're not having to jump back here and add more permissions, I'm going to give it this one right here, which is read, compose, and send emails from your Gmail. This is just a more complete permission scope, right? This is something that maybe we do want it to read later, but we don't have to jump back here and add that scope. We're just going to give it this, and I think this is literally it. This is all we need to do. So down at the bottom, you're going to click the blue update button, and as soon as you do that, you're gonna be able to scroll down here, and you're going to see this is something called a restricted scope. There's 3 different kinds of scopes right here. You can see non-sensitive scopes. These are basically permissions that Gmail doesn't think is like very dangerous, right? This is something that is read only. It can only read information. It can't really make changes. It can't delete. It can't send. And then you have sensitive scopes, right? These are permissions that request access to private data. What that means is maybe it can now look at emails that are marked as private. Maybe sending emails is a sensitive scope. And by the way, we don't define what is non-sensitive and sensitive and restricted. This is something Google already defines, but when you click a scope, it just puts it in the boat that it belongs in. So you can see the one we put together is restricted, right? This is a permission that requests access to highly sensitive user data, but it doesn't matter to us because this is exactly what we want it to do. So now we're going to click the blue save button and we just, boom, now we're done. We just gave the permissions to the API, just like that. Now, the next thing we have to do is we have to go to this branding section. And when you hit this section, you're going to scroll down and you're going to see add domain. What this means is these are the domains that are authorized to consent inside of your Google Cloud project. And basically, that's going to be our AI system. And so what our AI system's domain actually is, that's going to be where it's living, which is make.com. Okay, so our AI system is living inside of make.com, meaning the domain that needs to be authorized into our Google Cloud platform is going to be make.com. So right here, I'm going to click add domain and I'm just going to type in make.com. And on top of that, I'm going to add a second one, and the second one is going to be integromat.com. Now, the reason I'm adding this one is because this used to be make.com's old name, okay? Before they were make.com, they were called Integromat. And so sometimes they might send requests as integromat.com. Right now, we're just gonna add both of them so that way we make sure that we're covered no matter which one gets used. And then we're gonna click save on that and we're good on that tab right there. Next, we're gonna go to the next one, which is gonna be audience. So when you click into audience, you're gonna see these different options right here. You're gonna see these options, and these options basically allow you to publish your app so that way it actually ends up being used, or you can keep it private, but only let specific emails use it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna keep it private. We're not gonna publish it. And down here under test users, we are gonna add the 2 emails that we want to be able to access this specific app that we're creating right now. That's gonna be our testingman397 email, which is the same email that we use to sign up to make.com, and that's gonna be our nmar@openstep.ai, which is our professional email. So at this step, what you wanna do is you wanna add both of them, the same email that you use to make your make.com account and the email that you're sending professionally from. If you don't do this, you're gonna run into an error when it comes time to actually send an email. It's literally just not gonna work. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna add both of them, and I'm just gonna say, what was it? testingman397@gmail.com. Then I'm gonna click save, and then I'm gonna add my second one, which is our professional one. And then I'm gonna click save. Boom. So now we're good to go. Scroll down here. I don't even think there's a save button. There is not a save button, so we don't really have to do much from here. And now we are at the final stage of this thing, which is going to be clients. And this is where we're gonna be generating that big API key. Now, I explained to you guys earlier, API keys basically need to be created inside of the platform that you're wanting to connect into, and then you give it to your AI system. So obviously, in this situation, let's just say we're using an API key. You would create that key inside of the Gmail Google Cloud platform. You would give it to make.com, and then every time Make wants to send an email, it's gonna say, hey, please send an email. Here is my key. It's gonna give you the key that you generated, and then Gmail is gonna say, okay, I gave you this key, so I know it works, and then it's gonna send that email for you, okay? Simple as that. Now, what I want you to know, Miles, is an API key, all it is a type of authentication, okay? If we think of the word authentication, what that is all it is something that proves you are who you say you are. Think about picking up your phone, okay? If somebody picked up your phone and they are not Miles and your phone had a passcode on it, they cannot get through this form of authentication. So a phone passcode is an authentication method. It basically proves that you are who you are. Think about your ID, right? Your actual physical ID. That is a form of authentication. When you go to a bar or anywhere and they say, hey, show me your ID, that just proves to the bar that you are who you are. Think about your passport. All of these are different methods of authentication. So API key is only one type of authentication. There are actually other types of authentication that are more secure than an API key. So think about a world where you generate this very long key and somehow somebody gets a hold of this key. All they have to do is use this key and they're already through the front door. That's it. It is only one level. It's not 2 levels. The second level, Google, in order to use their Gmail API, requires you to use a higher level than just an API key. And this level is going to be something that is 2 steps, okay? It's not going to require just a key. That key is literally going to have a password to it. So it's going to be 2 things instead of 1 thing. So now what we're going to do is inside of Gmail, instead of just generating one API key, we are going to generate something called a client and secret OAuth. Right? This is our second method of authentication that you guys are going to be running into again and again and again when you're building AI systems. And it's actually way more common in the real world because everything in the real world needs to be very secure. So if you have the option to use OAuth, most of the time you're going to be using OAuth because you're not just generating 1 key, you're actually going to be generating 2 keys, and you're going to insert both of these keys inside of make.com. And these 2 keys are called client ID, and actually it's going to be called a client secret. Sometimes you might not see even the word client on secret. You might see just the word secret. But this is what we're going to do inside of Gmail. We are going to be using OAuth, and we're going to generate a client ID, and we're going to generate a client secret. And all this is a second level, which is higher than an API, right? An API is just 1 key, and OAuth is 2 keys, not 1. Does that make sense, Miles?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Now, the way we're going to generate that is, as you might have guessed at this point, in this clients, because again, client ID, you're generating client here. So we're going to go to client and we're going to create a client. And you can see that, right? OAuth 2.0 client IDs. We're going to click create client. And here it's going to ask us, what is your application? Ours is a web application. It's going to be something that is working on the internet. Here, we're just going to give it a name. We're just going to give it the same thing. I'm just going to name it make. And then down here, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add something called an authorized redirect URI. Let me explain to you what this is, right? This is super simple. So all this redirect URI is just an address that tells Gmail where to send its response back to make.com. So let's walk through the scenario one more time. Make.com says, hey, I want you to send this email. Here is my key. That request is going to go and it's going to travel and it's going to hit Gmail at this point. Now, Gmail, what is it going to do? It's going to look at that request and it's going to say, okay, I just sent your request. Boom, it sends off that email. And I want to tell you that I accepted it. So where should I send that message to? And think about it like postal mail office, right? This guy wants to send a message back to make.com. So what it needs is an address, right? All that it's asking for is, where should I send my response back to you, Mr. Make? And so right here, we're going to be getting that address from make.com. We're going to get that address where it's going to send its responses back to, and we're just going to give it to Gmail. And that's all it is, right? So we're going to give it this address, and once it sends it off, it's just going to give you a big thumbs up, says, hey, I sent it and I accepted your request, and boom, you're going to get that confirmation, which is how you're going to see that big old green check mark above the Gmail module when something actually happens. It's how it's sending that information back to you. Now, where do you get this address, right? That's probably your next question. This is going to be something that we're going to be getting from the make.com documentation, okay? And if you don't know what that is, it is an extremely helpful documentation page that make.com created, and 9 times out of 10, if you're looking for information on how to connect something or what you should do, you should probably go take a look at the make.com documentation, just because it has all of those instructions for you to just open up, look at, and see. So all I'm gonna do to access this documentation is I went to Google and I typed in make.com documentation and I said connect Gmail. The very first thing you're gonna see a link right here. It says Gmail apps documentation make. I'm gonna open this up, and what this is, by the way, literally step by step exactly what I just walked you guys through how to do. And look at this, right? It's gonna say connecting Gmail to Make. Here's what you need to do. You need to go to Google Cloud Platform and create a project. And then you need to authorize yourself by adding your domain. And it's just basically going to walk you through all the steps that I walked you guys through right here. Where we need to go is this create and configure a Google Cloud Platform project, which, by the way, you're going to notice this is exactly step by step what I walked you guys through. I'm literally just going to scroll down and you're going to see, hey, go to create a project, select your project. Make sure you name it. Click this. This is literally every single step. This is enabling the API. I just walked you guys through how to do this. Everything that I showed you is in this documentation. I can just do it off the top because I've done this so many fucking times that I have this whole thing memorized. Now, if you scroll down here, it even tells you which scopes you have to add, and you can actually copy paste them. So we didn't have to figure out which scopes. All we had to do was come back here, look at these scopes, and just copy them and paste them and click done. And here's the part where it is creating the client, which is exactly where we're at right now. And look at this, right? Under authorize redirect URI, boom, click add URI and enter the required redirect URL. It just gave it to us right here. We didn't have to do anything. Once again, all of this documentation, if you guys have any sort of questions about how to connect specific things, make documentation 9 times out of 10 is going to have it. And you guys can see this is just one section on the left side. You will have documentation for every single app, whether you want to connect Teams or you want to connect Outlook or whatever the fuck you want to connect. It's all right here. So right now, I just grab the field that we want to use, and I'm going to go back inside of Google and just insert it wherever we need to insert it. So I'm going to go down here, click add URI, and I'm going to paste it. And boom, we are done at this point. There's literally nothing else for us to do. I'm going to click create, and here is our client ID and client secret. I already told you guys we're going to be getting these 2 credentials because we're not just using API, right? We're using OAuth, which is going to give us 2 different secret keys instead of 1. Make sure you fucking save this. Once you get out of this screen, you're not going to be able to use this. These are going to be the keys we use to create our connection into Gmail inside of make.com. So all of that hard work that we just did literally to get to this point right here so we can grab those secrets and go back and create our connection. You guys, I told you Gmail is a little bit of annoying to set up at first because it has all these extra security behind it. So right now I'm going to copy this client ID and I'm going to go back to make.com. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this module right now, open up Gmail, and just redo it one more time. At this point, I'm not just going to click sign in, okay? Now, at this point, we made a mistake earlier. All we did was click sign in. This time is going to be different. You're going to click on advanced settings, and you're going to notice it asks you for 2 fields. These are the exact keys that we just got. So I'm going to paste my client ID right here, and then I'm going to go back and grab my secret and paste it down here. And I want you guys to treat these keys exactly like a fucking API. You don't want anybody to have these keys, because if they do, then they can send and do things on your behalf pretending to be you. You definitely don't want to lose these keys. So now that we have these keys, I'm going to click sign in with Google, and it's going to give you this little pop-up right here. You're going to select the same account that you created your Google Cloud project in, which is going to be our professional one, right? That's the one that we want to connect to make.com. And then he's going to ask you to continue. And it's going to ask you one final message. Look at this message right here. Do you want to allow make.com to view emails and send emails? These are literally the exact scopes that we selected. Whatever scopes you select are going to be in here in this pop-up. Then you're going to be like, yes, I allow it. And once you do that, you should be fucking good to go. At this point, look at this. Everything just loaded up, no error messages, nothing. And now if we fill this out, guess what? It's going to be sent from our professional email. It's going to be sent from Anmar@openstepai.com. This is very, very important step, because again, you don't want to just use a random email. You want to set it up for yourself. And I just walked you guys through step by step how to do this Gmail part. Once you do this once or twice, you're going to memorize it like the back of your fucking hand, just like how I just did it for you guys. But boom, follow the steps and you're going to be at this exact point right here. So now, Miles, what do you think we should do? This is something you should be very familiar with, right? We have a to, and we have a body type, we have a subject, and all this extra stuff. What do you think we should do, Miles?
We should probably send whoever's booking the email where it says add recipient. We'll put in the name, right?
So,
name and email address.
So I want you to be careful what you're saying, right? You're saying name and email address. These are two completely different things. What do we need for a recipient field? What is it asking for? It literally is telling you what it needs right here. So we need to have an email address. And remember, the beautiful thing about make.com is that you can
pull all that information from before.
And I want you to start using the right terminology. Is going to be mapping it, right? What we're going to be able to do is we're going to map the email from Calendly inside of here. And all I'm going to do to do that is just scroll down here on the right side, and I'm going to look for where I see that email, and I can see it right here, okay? Now, mind you, everything in gray, all it is just a little hint that tells you what this variable actually is. It doesn't matter what's in here. This is just telling me that whatever goes in here is going to be an email. So I know that this is going to be the email. All I'm going to do is drag it, drop it here, and boom, we're done. We just map the variable to the recipient spot. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing we did earlier with the subject. We're going to say, thanks for booking with us, and we're going to use his name, right? Which is going to be the name field. And that is, where was that? Right here, Quandale Dingle. And we're going to throw an exclamation mark after that. And now in this body type, we see this is a required field. I'm going to click the drop down and see what is this, right? It's asking us, is it a collection of content or is it raw HTML? Do you remember we did the BR thing? What option should we choose right here?
Raw HTML, right?
Raw fucking HTML. We want that fucking raw HTML because we're going to be using BRs for the spaces. Perfect. Now is going to be the content. This is the body of that email. And what do you think should go here, Miles?
The result.
It is literally the result of the ChatGPT. This is the email that was written. It's just going to go in the body right here. So I'm going to click the result, drag that variable, and we are done. We don't have to do nothing. I'm going to click save. And I'm going to save the whole entire scenario. And just to make sure that this is working, we're going to test it by itself once. So I'm going to right click on it, click run this module only. And it's going to ask me to fill out those specific variables because it doesn't know what's supposed to go in there. So I want the email to go to testingman397@gmail. I have the mailbox open right here. And then I want my name to be, Dr. Doofin. And then for results, I'm not gonna actually copy an email. I'm just gonna do a quick test. We just wanna make sure that this is working. And as soon as I click OK to send that email off, I'm gonna jump to the other mailbox and we can see if it actually worked or not. This should be green. Boom, we can see that it's green. Jump back into the other mailbox, which is this one right here. And then it should come up literally in about a second or two right here. Boom, there it is. So you can see that it's coming from Anmar OpenStep. Thanks for booking. And then he's going to be the test. We can see that it's all working. We have now successfully officially connected our professional Gmail to our tiny little AI automation. So that way when somebody books, they get a personalized response created by AI through our email, right? This is coming from OpenStep. You can see that this is literally coming from our professional domain. This is perfect. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up some sort of notification to go to us once this little thing triggers, which obviously is going to be just another module, and I told you we're going to be configuring Slack, which is going to be like essentially the Discord for the business world, and that's going to be our next step. And by the way, this is like literally one of the only, if not the only complex connection. Obviously there's a few other ones, but a lot of your guys' jobs when you're creating AI automation systems is connecting. It's doing basically what we just did. It might be something else. It might be something totally different, but you are going to figure out how to connect into it. Either one, by searching it up on Google, or two, searching on YouTube, or literally just ask ChatGPT. The idea is for you to continuously poke around until you figure out how you can do these connections, because once you figure it out once, you are good to go for the next time. And this is part of the entire process. And when I told you guys there's some stuff you literally just can't learn until you do it, this is one of them, this little thing right here. And you're gonna have a lot more clients that are gonna be using Gmail. So the fact that I just showed you guys this and that you see all the different steps, you are 1,000,000% gonna be using this when you're selling AI systems that involve Gmail, because this is the only way to connect Gmail into make.com. And by the way, if you're using N8N, it's the same exact thing, except you're just doing it inside of N8N. And there's also documentation by N8N. So instead of searching for make documentation, you're going to be searching for N8N documentation. But the heart of it is connecting things. AI automation is integration, connecting things, and throwing AI in the middle. That is literally the bread and butter of what makes this so special. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting up our own notifications. The reason why is because every time somebody does a booking, we want to be notified. We want to know exactly when that happens. And we're going to be using something called Slack to do that. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have heard of Slack before, but it's very, very similar to Discord. And the reason why is because in the business community, Slack is used a lot for internal communications. So a lot of companies, what they do is they'll set up different channels for different teams, and they can integrate them with things that they're already using, like Google Workspace, Microsoft, whatever. It just basically lets teams communicate quicker with each other, and you can set up bots and notifications inside of there. So you guys are probably going to be seeing Slack a lot more in the world once you jump more into business, because a lot of companies do use Slack. And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up our own little tiny Slack notifications, so that way when somebody books, we can get notified. You guys are going to see me set this up from scratch because we have never created it for this account. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google, I'm going to search for Slack, and it's going to be the very first thing right here. Then I'm going to click on the get started button at the top, and I'm just going to click continue with Google, create an account, literally just like we've been doing all along. I'm going to click on my testing man 397 and then continue, and boom. So now we are at the place where we can name our Slack workspace. I'm just going to name this workspace, let's just say plumbing voice AI. It doesn't really matter. This is going to be the name of your Slack workspace. Click next. And then what is your name? I'm just going to name myself Anmar. Next, add teammates by email. So if you have other people that are going to be part of your Slack team that should also be getting notifications, you can send them an invite from here directly. So normally what I would do is I would send Miles an invite right here. And actually, I'm probably going to do that. So Miles, what is your Gmail? All right, so boom, we got an invite sent to Miles. And now it's probably going to be inviting him to our workspace. While it creates it, start with Pro. We don't care about Pro. It's going to continue with the free tier. And boom, now we're getting the welcome to Slack. And as you guys can notice, like, again, literally super simple to Discord. Look at this layout, right? This is something that a lot of you guys are probably familiar with if you have used Discord before, right? You have the channels, you have the DMs, and then you have apps, you have all this other integrations that you can do inside of this. What we're going to do is we're going to do something very simple. We're going to create a brand new channel. We're just going to name it notifications, and then we're going to dump those notifications from Make inside of here. This should literally take not even like 10 minutes. So I'm actually going to go to this social channel, and I am just going to rename it. So I'm going to right click and then view channel details. And then here I'm going to edit the name, and I'm just going to say notifications. Okay. Click save changes and leave it at that. So I can see that the channel named is now notifications. Perfect. Now what we have to do is we have to link our Slack account inside of make.com. So I'm going to jump back into Make, and then I'm going to open up the workflow that we built the other day. And here we want that notification obviously to come to us after the booking and the email was sent to them. So I'm going to add it right here at the end. Actually, I should probably add it right after the Calendly thing, right? So let me add a module right here, and I'm just going to search for the word Slack. We're just doing the same thing that we've always been doing. When we want to integrate a specific application inside of Make, we're just going to search for it and hope that it shows up. And now that I'm inside of the config, let's just see what we need, right? Obviously, at the very top are the most used ones. So let's just read them real quick. Watch public channel messages, watch private channel messages, watch direct messages. These are event-based things, basically saying every time somebody types a message in a channel, it'll trigger the automation. That's not what we want, right? Because Slack is not our trigger. This is just part of the workflow. So we want it to send a message in a channel. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and see if we can find that. There it is. Send a message. All this does is sends a message within Slack. Right now it's not connected. I'm going to drag it in the middle so it just connects between those. And then I'm going to open it up and it's going to ask me to create a connection. So I'm going to open create a connection. Connection type is going to be Slack user. We're just going to use like our user account. We're not going to be creating a bot for this. And then it's going to ask for the name. We're just going to keep it as it is. Additional scopes, we don't have to do any of that. Remember, I told you guys the word scopes basically means permissions. Every time you see the word scope, I want you to automatically think permissions because that's basically what that means. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click save. And now it's going to ask us to log into the same account that we created our Slack within, which is going to be the testingman397 email. So it looks like my credentials saved. So you can see like it already has plumbing voice AI right here. And it's giving me, do you want to allow make.com to access your Slack? I'm going to say allow. And after this is done, we should be good to go. So boom, it just verified the connection. And now we have the configuration settings. All I have to do at this point is basically point it to that channel and then tell it what is it that I want inside of that channel. What's the first drop down, right? You have enter manually and you have select from the list. So let's see what we have at the top, right? It's asking us for a channel ID or a name. Every single channel that you create at this URL right here, if you guys can see at the top, there's this big, long string right here, just a bunch of letters. This is the ID for this specific channel. So basically every time you wanted to reference this channel in some sort of AI automation you're building, this would be the ID that you use. But we can make life a little bit easier since we have an option to select from list. So I'm going to click that. And now you can see what's the channel type. So it's asking us, what is this channel type? We can see that this channel is not a private channel. It's public. If it was private, it would have some sort of lock icon on it. So this is a public channel. I'm just going to leave it as public. And then now you have a drop down for selecting the public channels that exist inside of your Slack workspace. So I'm going to open this up and you can see right here, plumbing voice AI. This is literally the one that I just created. And you can see right here the different channel names. Obviously the one that I want is called notifications because I literally just renamed it notifications. So I'm going to open it and now it's asking me what is the text that you want to be sent inside of that notifications channel. What we want here is basically we want the information that the person submitted inside of the booking, which happened inside of Calendly. So I'm going to open up text and we're basically going to do what we did earlier. We're going to map those pieces of information here and we're going to tell ourselves what these pieces of information are. So think about a notification, right? What do we want the notification to say? I want to say someone just booked a meeting. Here is their info. And then I'm going to go down in spaces and the pieces of information that we want is going to be email, first name, last name, and if they added some sort of description in here, right? So we're going to say name, and then I'm going to map the name field. So where was that? Right here. Boom. Oh, actually, it actually went to the wrong space. Let me put it down here. Boom. So name, and then we have, what else we got? And then we have email. So I'm just going to type in email, colon, and then I'm going to drag the email variable right here. We're going to map it. And then I'm going to write the word description. Right? This is going to be whatever description was submitted by the person that booked. And we see that's right here. It's under questions and answers. So it is basically their answer, right? I'm going to throw that down here. Is there anything else we care about? Probably not, other than the fact of like when they did the actual booking, right? What is the time? So let's see where we can find that, right? Schedule event. So it looks like here's the link, here's the name, end time, and so we have start. So we have start time and we have end time. So I think these are the two things that we're looking for. These two pieces of information is the times that were selected by whoever made the booking. So we're just gonna drop those down here. We're gonna say time. And we don't really care about the end time, right? We care about when that meeting is supposed to start. So I'm going to use the start time variable and I'm going to map it down here. So now we got the start time mapped. What else do we want? Can we get the URL of the actual booking? There it is right here. So it says URI. And even if I had no idea what this like URI term meant, I can see a small preview of what this thing is. So what you guys can do is literally just look for what you want in this like gray area on the right side. And wherever you see that, that's probably the variable that you're looking for. So we can see that there's a link right here under scheduled events. Most likely this is the actual event, the URL for that. So I'm going to drag it. And I'm going to drop it down here. And in front of it, I'm going to type in URL. Or actually, I'm going to say meeting URL instead. And boom, we're pretty much done. We don't have to do anything else now. I'm going to click save. And then, like always, we are going to test this by itself, nothing else. So I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to click run this module only. Obviously, because there's no pieces of information in those variables, it's going to ask me to fill those out, right? So what is the name you want? This is just testing. and we're gonna do a quick test right here. None of this literally matters. All we're doing is we're checking to see if the notification works. So now it's asking us for a time, right? I'm gonna select the quick time. This doesn't matter. We just wanna see. And so boom, I just filled this out. Literally none of this matters. We just wanna test if that notification is actually working. So I'm gonna open up the Slack channel here on the left side, and you can see under notifications right now, these are the only messages there. So I'm gonna jump back into Make, click OK, and we can see we got a green check mark, meaning this has worked. I'm gonna open up Slack, and look at that. We just got this notification from the system, not from us. It says someone just booked a meeting. Here's their info. And then here's the name, here's the email, here's all that test information that I just did. Now we have our own personal notifications when somebody books a meeting. So perfect. All we have to do at this point, you and I, Miles, is we have to download the Slack app on our phone and just enable notifications. So that way, when a notification does come through, it gets posted right here and we can actually see it. And so you would just download the Slack app, log in with whatever credentials that you used to get into this workspace, and now you have notifications set and done. It is literally that simple.
So why would we use Slack instead of Discord?
The reason why is because in the business world, in like the corporate, quote unquote corporate world, when you talk to a bunch of companies, a lot of them use Slack already. And so if we're talking about being in the business world, you're gonna run into Slack a lot of times. Might as well familiarize yourself with it right now and start using it right now, because Discord is kind of like the social hangout teenager version of whatever Slack is. Slack is actually used in the business world by a lot of companies, and you're much more likely to work within Slack. That's why we're using Slack right now.
Could you connect Discord rather than Slack if you wanted to?
So if Discord is an option in these add a modules, which I'm like 90% sure it is, I just search for it and here it is. You basically can. Yes, you can do the exact same things inside of Discord. You can see like you can send a message, list a message, get a message, watch channel messages. Pretty much everything you can do inside of Slack, you have the option to do within Discord. All you have to do is do the same thing we did, where you basically connect your Discord inside of make.com and allow it however that looks like. It could be as simple as logging into it, or it could be something a little bit more difficult, kind of like how we did with Gmail, where you have to go to make.com documentation, look for Slack, look for Discord, and then just read the instructions for how you should be connecting them. But either way, as long as it exists here, it's possible. So yes, I would say 100% you can connect Discord.
What if you're building a system for a company and they don't use Slack or Discord, and the site that they do use isn't on there as an option?
So this is, I love that you asked this, and this is a little bit of an advanced question, because technically, as long as whatever system they're using has an API, you can use it. You just wouldn't be using it in one of these pre-built connectors. By the way, what these are literally API connections that are already pre-configured by make.com that you can just use easily. That's all this is. So if you wanted to connect into something and it wasn't in this list, you would basically have to create your own API connection into it. And the way you would do that is by using this HTTP module right now. Now, I'm not gonna walk through this right now because this is a little bit of an advanced thing, so I'm gonna leave it for later. But the answer to your question is, if there is an API available for whatever the fuck they're using, it is possible. And all you have to figure out is that API available and can we use it? Basically the exact same thing that we did for those CRMs for the plumbing business. Do you remember how we used ChatGPT to figure out if those APIs were available? And if they were they publicly accessible? Did we have to pay some sort of fee, or did we have to be on a specific plan? Remember how we did that with like House Call Pro and all these other ones? That's basically the exact same thing that you would do, except for whatever system that would be. And then you would connect it inside of here through these HTTP modules. And I'm going to walk you guys through how to do that later, right? We're not have to do it right now. This is a little bit more advanced than where we're at right now. So now that we have a notification set up, I'm going to delete this Outlook module right here, and then I'm going to click save, and then we should be good to go on this.